Galatians chapter 1, verses 18 through 24 read, "Then after 3 years I went up to Jerusalem to see Peter and remained with him 15 days. But I saw none of the other apostles except James, the Lord's brother. Now concerning the things which I write to you, indeed, before God I do not lie. Afterward I went into the regions of Syria and Cilicia, and I was unknown of face to the churches of Judea which were in Christ, but they were hearing only. He who formerly persecuted us now preaches the faith which he once tried to destroy, and they glorified God in me." So once again, Paul was very patient. Once he was called into the ministry, he was very patient, not seeking to be edified by man, not seeking their approval, but seeking to do the will of God. He was obedient to God. And I would suggest that in chapter 1, verses 6 through 10, that just like in other letters we read, Paul's apostleship was always called into question by certain people. Now, Paul in Corinthians says that, he wasn't a man of stature. He wasn't anything to look at. I mean, he wasn't anything to behold. He wasn't, but he came in the power of God, in the Spirit of God, being called and chosen by God. And so in 18, after 3 years, remember he had spent time in Arabia and returned again to Damascus, and then after 3 years he went to Jerusalem to see Peter. Remember in verse 16 of chapter 1, it says that he did not immediately confer with flesh and blood, nor did he go up to Jerusalem to those who were apostles. And so he stayed 3 years and went up to Jerusalem to see Peter and remained with him 15 days. Verse 19, "But I saw none of the other apostles except James." So he didn't come in the presence of all of the apostles. He just came in the presence of 2 to start off with, is how I'm reading this. I've got to go do some studying in Acts. I'm not a historian in this, and I'm no theologian, but this is just how I read this, and that's what it says. So, but he only saw the 2 during this time, which the word says James was the Lord's brother. 20, "Now concerning the things which I write to you," and who is the you here? Galatians, the church in Galatia, the churches. So, "Indeed, before God, I do not lie." So I find it interesting. I think about the Old Testament prophets and whatnot. There was always a question to the people: "Testify or witness against me if I have ever done you any wrong." Right? And okay, the people would always say, "No, you've never, we testify or witness about you that these things never, you never cheated us, you never lied." And Paul always did that same thing. And I feel like this is him putting his stamp to say, hey, what I'm testifying, what I'm writing is what I've seen, what I've experienced, what I know to be true. I'm not lying about these things, not bringing to you a gospel that is not by the divine revelation of God in Christ, his son. And so I'm not lying to you guys. 21, "After I went into the regions of Syria and Cilicia, and I was unknown by the face of the churches of Judea, which were in Christ." So even still, we see him doing the work of the Lord, being called to purpose and intention by Christ, doing the work, but still unknown, still hidden behind the scenes. Verse 23, "But they were hearing only. So this is what they were saying about Paul. He to the church, the churches that were in Judea in Christ were saying this: he who formerly persecuted us now preaches the faith which he once tried to destroy. And they glorified God, verse 24. And like I was saying in the last message, there's things, every single thing that we go through, there's intentionality that God uses. So Paul, who had to bear the weight of his own sin, I killed the church. I'm one of the least of the apostles. I don't even deserve to be an apostle. But it was by divine calling, divine provision, divine grace that I've been called into this, to preach the gospel to the Gentiles. I am an apostle to the Gentiles. But I killed the church. But the very thing that he was doing made him strong in his delivery of the faith. Our past life, the things that we are currently going through, is maybe it's a weakness right now. Maybe some people that we've been ministering to, or some people that we've been encouraging, or some people that we've been walking with, or trying to plant seeds in, or trying to sow seeds, or water seeds. God will do the increase in his perfect and good timing, like he did with Saul. Saul was so far gone, the outside Christian looking in at Saul was like, heck no, he's never coming to the faith. What's the point in even talking to him? What's the point in trying to sow seeds in him, or trying to water any seeds in him? Because all he's going to do is kill. He's going to hate me. He's going to revile me. There's so much fear that we have in being the light and being the salt in the presence of others, that it may be the very presence of you in God's timing, with the planting of seeds and the watering of seeds, and God doing the increase because of your obedience. I always question, what if Ananias would have never went to go put his hand on Saul and pray for Saul? Would the scales have fell off? Would he have been baptized? You know, what if you were removed from the situation that you were in? How can God develop a testimony or his witness? Because Paul is having to say, hey, I am an apostle, one untimely born. I was killing the church. I was zealous for God, but it was through Judaism. It was through the law, but nothing of the law is edifying in Christ. We are not in the law. We're in the perfect law of liberty. We are free from bondage, free from sin, free from condemnation, because we believe in Christ. That when they hear the transformation of Saul to Paul, they hear that they haven't even seen yet, but they hear of the good works of Paul preaching the gospel. The one who once tried to destroy the church is now the one who's proclaiming and leading people into the church. And what do they do in verse 24? They glorified God in me, is what Paul said, because of what they heard. They haven't even seen, but they just heard. How powerful is what it is that you're doing behind the scenes. When we think of ministry today, we think of pulpits, we think of churches and congregations, and that's the only way to minister. That's the only way to, but respectively, exactly where you are is exactly where God has called for you to be. There's purpose and intention behind where exactly you are and exactly what you're going through. And if you're removed too quickly, or you stay there too long, there could possibly be damage to your witness and your testimony. But how quickly our flesh wants to remove ourselves from the situations that we don't like. Be encouraged. Your life is meant to glorify God. And as Saul, who turned into Paul, was glorifying God in his transformation, in his conversion, abiding where he was, not to be seen by men, but to be seen by God because of the revelation that he got from God. How is it that you're reading your word? How is it that you're encouraging others? How is it that you're being encouraged by others? How is it that you're standing in the faith? How is it that you're abiding in the faith? Be encouraged, continue to stand, and continue to glorify God in everything you think, in everything you do, in everything that you say, not just in the presence of man. Here comes the pastor. Oh, yes, hey, everything's great, but you just got done arguing with your wife, or you just got done arguing with your kids, or you just got done. There's just a show. Don't do it from that vein. Don't do it to be seen by men. That's not what Paul did. That's not what Paul did. Enjoy your private place with the Lord. When things are difficult, enjoy him in the difficulty. Enjoy him in the secret place. Suffer well. How do we suffer well? Jesus suffered in silence. He did not pay reviling for reviling. He did not, when slapped, retaliate. He did not. He was about his Father's business. Paul was about his Father's business prior to coming to Christ. But it was from the wrong vein. When he got in the right vein, in the right river, in the right water, the direction of the current of the Spirit, we are led by the Spirit. Paul was being led by the Spirit. And ultimately what ended up happening is he glorified God in what he did. Your testimony travels. You don't know how you stand today could impact somebody in the future to come. I encourage this and then I'll be done. Stephen was martyred right in the presence of Paul. The coats of the ones who stoned Stephen were thrown at the feet of a man named Saul. Could it be that maybe the faith, the display of faith, the display of trust in Christ, the boldness to rebuke the Pharisees for their heresies, could that have been the testimony that was needed, the light that was needed to really stir in the heart and mind of Saul, which then only led to the opportunity for Christ to come in and transform his life? You don't know what it is that how you're standing, how it impacts someone else. For the glory of God, continue to stand. Y'all be blessed.